Awesome. We'll get started, and anyone comes in, they missed the intro. But welcome, everyone. I'm Matt Arbisfeld. I'm co-founder and CEO here at LogRocket, and really excited today to have some special guests from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts to share how they've been using LogRocket to improve their app performance with the new MyBlue application. So without further ado, I'd love to hand it over to Vinay and Srini, and maybe you could start and give introductions on your backgrounds and roles over at Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Vinay here. I am a senior solution architect at Blue Cross Blue Shield. I lead the performance and monitoring for the MyBlue facing application. Been part of Blue Cross for close to 3 years now. So yeah, that's pretty much. I've been setting up the LogRocket, and we have been using this LogRocket for almost 2 years now. So, Srini, not good.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vinay. Hey, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Srini Biragoni. I'm managing the MyBlue overall application for the operations side, and also, overseeing the performance and monitoring. We use a lot and the LogRocket for our, some of the metrics, and also, debugging our issues. So thanks for inviting us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And Guru may be joining us at some point, but yeah, we can hop in, and maybe probably everyone here knows about Blue Cross Blue Shield in Massachusetts, but maybe could share a bit of background on MyBlue and the applications that you guys are supporting there.
Yep. So Blue Cross Blue Shield is basically a nonprofit organization, and specifically here, this is for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. And coming to the MyBlue, it's basically the MyBlue is a member-facing application where the members can log in, register, look up their plan details, look up their claims, look up the cards, look up or find a doctor. So there are like multiple features which are available as a part of the MyBlue application. It's both a web-based application and also a mobile app, which we also have tied up to this. And apart from the features, we also have a variety of integrations, like a telehealth integration, where we can have some of the telehealth appointments, integration with some of the other telehealth SSOs into various, if you are looking for any HSA kind of details, it integrates into some of our HSA providers and so on and so forth. So it's a very critical and a complex application with a lot of integrations and so on and so forth. Yeah, coming on to the criticality, right? So the MyBlue itself is a member-facing application, which makes it very critical. And on top of that, there are some of the access, which provide access to care features, like the doctor searches, the telehealth visits, which are embedded into the MyBlue, which makes it even more critical. And on top of that, having the performance and availability is very key in order for the end users to have a satisfaction and also have the retention of the users. So combining all of these aspects, like MyBlue is definitely a very critical application, which we are really for. To go to the next slide, Matt. On top of the criticality, we also have, it's very complex, right? So we have, it's basically running on hundreds of APIs, which are both internal, external. We also talk to a variety of internal APIs, which are hosted by the other partner systems, and there are many other external APIs which we integrate to. So as I was talking about the telehealth, right? So there we also talk to external. Then similarly, we have various other integrations related to pharmacy, financial data, then EOBs, like the claims. So it's a very complex application with variety of integrations, and making it more complex, and being it complex, it adds in a lot of issues which are pertaining to performance, functional, and so on. So and also we have a lot of releases, right? Like like we have every bi-weekly release, and also we are doing a lot of migrations on the API standpoint. So it makes it even more complex. And it is also very important for us to understand as we do our migrations and also our feature releases, there is no impact to the end user experience, and they are seeing a seamless performance. And also even the functional issues or the production issues which we see are very minimal. So overall, I think the MyBlue is definitely one of the very complex and also has a very critical application as it stands. And on top of that, to add to these challenges, right, we have a very stringent SLAs for some of the APIs which we want, which are internal. We want them to be under 500 milliseconds, and when we are talking to external, we want them to be under like a second. And also we have stringent SLAs on the page load times, which we always try to challenge ourselves to improve on top of that. So those are some of the key problems, statements which we have in terms of the complexity, and also some of the problems, some of the stringent SLAs which we want to keep it across. So before we had LogRocket, right? So it was almost 2 years since we have been leveraging LogRocket. Before that, it was like we had a lot of issues around, we were not able to clearly understand how the end user's performance was, right? And how they were perceiving the performance, or how they were really using the different. We had some of the tools in-house which can help us to some extent, but we really didn't know, like, from the end user standpoint, what the user navigation flow was, and or where the users were experiencing some of these issues, right? So I think that was one of the key problem which we had, and we wanted to address that. And that's where I think we went and looked upon some of the tools, and that's where we came to the LogRocket. And another key aspect, right? We wanted to reduce down the MTTR for all our production issues. It was taking it days, if not weeks in some scenarios, and we wanted to reduce them and reduce our MTTR for many of our production issues. So I think that's where we started looking at the LogRocket as a solution, and that's where we all started.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think probably a lot of folks in the audience can relate to these challenges around understanding end user performance, especially with such a wide set of customers all over. And we've all had that problem where someone says the app's not working, or it's slow, or it's broken, figuring out what happened. So yeah, how have you solved these problems?
So to start off with, right, so one of the key and most important thing as a part of when we started looking, or wowed us when we started building the LogRocket, was looking at the playback sessions, which was one of the key from a support standpoint. But on top of that, we also get variety of metrics specific to performance, right? It gives us a page load metrics. It gives us the whatnot, like it gives us the DOM complete time. It gives us the response times of our network requests. It gives us like the top type consuming APIs. And it also gives us a variety of metrics on all the Lighthouse-based metrics, which are based on Google. And it also really helps us in driving and improving the end user experience. So, and apart from that, also we leverage LogRocket for some of the key things, right? Like, for example, if we are rolling out any new feature, we wanted to understand how it has been used for, and how many people are leveraging it, how the end users are experiencing it. And also what's the volume of the users who are using it. So to get all these kind of metrics, LogRocket is also helping us in building some of the metrics around that. And apart from that, we do build, like, whenever we do a release or release over release, right? It also helps us in doing a comparison of whether, say, I'm looking at a homepage, right? Whether how is the homepage performance over the release over release, or when we do a migration, it can clearly show us. For example, in the screenshot you can see, right, like after post release, there's a degradation, or there is or is it consistently performing the same. So we can clearly get an idea of what was going on from an end user standpoint over release over release. And apart from that, all the critical metrics like time to first byte, then the DOM complete, the first input delay, most of the critical performance driving factors from a front-end performance are all captured. And it helps us in looking at some of these. And not just these, it also gives us some of the metrics around the CPU usage on the browser. Then there are any long tasks which are running on the browser. Then it also gives us a good insights. Not just that, also add some of the key metrics like browser crashes or any of the network speed related data, which can also help us to do some leverage that metrics to do some of our performance testing. So it also helps driving through some of those metrics as well. I think another key aspect, right? The session replay is very, very critical for all our production and operations, where without that, we need to run behind some of the logs, look at some of the metrics, and to understand what's the real user experience or where the user problem is, right? With LogRocket, it makes it more easier for us to get to the root cause and understand where the errors are happening or what's the issue which has encountered, if there was any JavaScript failing on the browser, or if there was any network request which was causing the issue. It gives us a easy to go and look out what was causing the problem. And this actually helped us in solving many of our production issues, if not in days, in within few hours. Yeah, one other thing I want to add, right? Like, because Blue Cross Blue Shield being a healthcare, we have to be HIPAA compliant, PHI, we have a lot of PHI, PI data. And to consider all of this, we have also hosted this solution on an on-premise solution, and everything is running on our internal Blue Cross network, and it's not going outside, so that it's all secured, and we are also able to meet all the strict security requirements when we implemented this LogRocket.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Vinay. Really exciting to see all the different use cases. And I think when we were first talking, it was maybe one or two of those. So it's been exciting to see other teams. I just learned of that more product analytics use case you mentioned. So just to give some folks some more context, I was going to share a quick demo of what those solutions look like in practice in the LogRocket platform. And obviously, since the data of Blue Cross Blue Shield is very sensitive, we built a similar demo environment to represent what the data might look like for a new customer. So just going to pull up the dashboard here. Sorry, 1 second. So as Vinay mentioned, LogRocket's sitting on the front end, so we're capturing everything that's happening from the actual end user perspective. So whereas there's a lot of instrumentation you can do on the backend infrastructure that might not be representative of what the real users are experiencing. And so there's a wide variety of different types of metrics that's highly configurable, but things like API response times, network failures, like Vinay mentioned, you can also track CPU load and memory usage from the front end. And one of the metrics that we found a lot of teams are starting to use is you might have 10 or 20 network requests that happen between someone loading a page to the page actually being ready to use. And so people want to track how long does it take from someone clicking into the page to the page actually being ready. And so a really common one we see is what we call the time between events, where you can track the time between, for example, clicking on a button to a certain element being visible. So that way, instead of just looking at single API response times, you can track the entire user experience and what's slow there. And then the last one to point out here, like Vinay said, we can also capture crashes. So if the browser actually crashes and there's maybe a memory leak, LogRocket detects those and alerts you to those issues. And then the final thing to show is many people may not be familiar with session replay. So we have an example here of a session replay where we're tracking all the mouse movements, the click events, the scroll. And so you can see exactly what's happening to this user. And then under the hood, we also capture all the console logs, all the network requests, the performance data, so you can see exactly what's going wrong. And I think I have one more session I can show that has a little more granular data. Yeah, here's an example from Travelers. So we can open the developer pane here, and here we see all the front-end logs and errors, as well as the network requests. So we can click in and we can see the headers and bodies and any failures that happen. Awesome. And feel free to put any questions in the chat and we'll address those at the end. So what's yeah, maybe even now you can kind of, now it's been 2 years, what's the current state look like for monitoring there at Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Yeah. So so far we have seen, like, we implemented the LogRocket, like what's the results, right? Like what's the outcome and how is it helping us, right? So first and foremost, it is helping us in being more positive and more solid on our releases, right? And there's a more confidence. So we do a lot of performance and stress testing and load testing and all of those internally. But we always wanted to understand how the end users are experiencing, and we are able to successfully and confidently roll out and release our migration and do our releases and migrations. So it's definitely helping us in monitoring our features. Proactively, we create some of the dashboards and metrics before we roll out any feature, so that we get a clear indication of what's being used across those. And also we do compare against every release over release, variety of pages we have, and also over the migration to understand, say, for example, we are doing one of the critical cloud migration project. And as a part of that, we wanted to understand how that migration is impacting the performance, right? So that's very easily understandable from the metrics and the dashboards of LogRocket, and we can like definitely look at it, whether there has been a degradation or whether it has helped us in improving the performance. So that's first thing which definitely helped us. And second thing, then there, like as you always know, right, there will be a lot of open enrollment periods, right? And as a part of that, there will be a lot of issues across registration or login and any of those easy access issues. So we were able to mitigate some of them by looking at definitely on the LogRocket sessions. So and we were able to definitely understand what was causing the issues by looking at some of the network requests or the API calls, and understand what was causing the issue for the end users, and we were able to triage from and also some of them were specifically on the cloud migration issues, which we could also easily identify as a part of looking at some of the LogRocket sessions. So it definitely helped us in some of these issues there. And one of the other and the most important aspect where we leverage LogRocket is the production support issues. So prior to LogRocket, as I said before as well, right? So it used to be a time-consuming activity where if there is any production incident, we have to go back and look at the logs, then look at what was going on and triage it. But with LogRocket in place, we can directly go and look up the session and what was causing the issue for the end user and reach the root cause quite quickly and faster compared to what it was happening earlier. So definitely that it's definitely helped us in reducing the MTTR in overall. Of course, the performance, yes, as I've been mentioning, right? Like we look at the variety of metrics on the DOM complete, then we look at the network request APIs and so on and so forth, and all the metrics which Matt also showcased. So we have variety of dashboards to compare, and it is helping us in overall improving the performance. And also, if there is any degradation on a release over release, it is able to show us and do some hot fixes as well based on what we are seeing from LogRocket. In overall, it's definitely providing us a good support in improving the performance of our application.
Awesome. Thanks, Vinay. Really exciting to see the results. So now we're turned to the Q&A portion, and already have a bunch of questions in the Q&A, and feel free to submit it through the Zoom Q&A module. The first is, maybe Vinay, you can address this. How does LogRocket handle PHI data on these session videos?
So we do a masking of the session, so we don't get to any of the PHI PII data. So that was one of our security requirement where we wanted to not leverage or not show the PHI PII data. So that was one aspect. Second, to highlight there, right? The LogRocket is only, it's leveraged internally only for the very restricted access. And it's not like something which is leveraged across the audience, right? It's only very limited people who can access the LogRocket internally. So we do some control and governance around who can leverage and view those sessions.
Makes sense. And also the self-hosted all in all in your infrastructure. And then Srini, maybe this question you could address is the question is around in terms of analyzing session replays, how do you analyze user interactions with the abundance of sessions? Do you watch just a portion of them? Do you look at just the bugs? How do you use the LogRocket data to derive product insights?
Yeah, good question. So in two ways, right? The first thing, as Vinay was mentioning, most of the times we were struggling earlier, when we want to go through a session for most probably where we cannot reproduce it from our local from production. There are some typical bugs. It's going to only happen at the time when the member was accessing, right? So that's where it's very helpful. When we go into that session, we can see some of the calls dropping off during the time. Then we know, hey, maybe something is happening at the back end or from the UI. Again, for some of the app sessions also, we see the similar issues. We don't go through most of the time. That the good thing from the LogRocket is, you have those indicators where the error is happening. So that's a good thing. And also we like the mostly you can speed up the session and the replay when you don't want to go to the unnecessary stuff, right? So that's where it's helping. That, as Vinay keeps saying, that it's helping us a lot of time to go exactly the error, and then we see what exactly happened during that time when the members were seeing the errors.
And one thing I've seen a lot of customers do as well is, instead of watching all the sessions, locate their power users who are the ones using a feature the most, right, and how are they interacting with that feature. And that's a really good way as well.
And also what we are doing is, like, if you see this is a trend, like this is happening for more users, again, we are going and creating a custom dashboard. So now you don't need to go into the loop of all the members, rather you just go to the dashboard. Then we see all the members impacted with that particular error during that time. So now we know, and also it's giving us, like, to submit some metrics or report, hey, during this time, like how many members are seeing this error, right? You can go and count the session, that there is your answer. So yeah.
Awesome. And then I could answer a question, does the session replay work on React Native? And the answer is yes, we do support React Native and iOS and native Android apps. So do you, Vinay, do you guys build a mobile app or?
We have a hybrid app. It's Ionic based app. So.
Yep. And LogRocket will work on Ionic because it's web-based as well. So anyone who's using Ionic or Cordova, LogRocket will also work in those cases. Awesome. And then this question of how can we approach you towards working together in collaboration? And so definitely feel free to reach out to us at logrocket.com, and there's a contact us there. And then we also have a free trial on our website. And so you can just sign up, try the product in our SaaS environment, and reach out if you have any questions or feedback there. Awesome. Yeah, any last questions? Okay, there's one more here. Can we use it for Vue applications? Yes, so LogRocket supports any web-based applications, and we also have a plugin for Vuex if you're using Vuex for state management. Any final question is how does LogRocket help with progressive web apps in older mobile browsers? I don't know, Vinay, or I guess you guys don't use a progressive.
No, we don't use the progressive.
Yeah, so LogRocket will capture those. We support almost all browsers past IE11. So your sort of lighthouse metrics and your performance metrics will still work on those older applications. And you can also filter the performance metrics to look at performance just on those older browsers as well. Someone asked, they have another tool for error reporting. How does LogRocket differ from other error reporting tools? I can take this one. So there's two main ways. One is having all the session replays helps you troubleshoot issues and see what happens beyond just the error. The second is a lot of problems that happen are not errors. And so at LogRocket, we've done a lot of work to find all different types of problems that might affect users. And so nothing falls between the cracks because it might be an error. There might also be performance issues. There might even be usability issues that don't show up as errors. And so categorizing all the different types of problems is important to us. Maybe Vinay, you could take this one. What was the lift for trialing LogRocket as a health plan and your PHI needs?
So as I mentioned earlier, right, LogRocket, we are, I know it's a health plan and we also have a PHI data. So we are masking up all the data when we are trying to set up the LogRocket on any of our sensitive data. So they are masked, and also there are a lot of governance and controls which are laid. And the third, it's also an on-premise implementation. It's not a SaaS solution. So we are having all the data internal as well. So.
Yeah, and also we have the control and what we can see and what we cannot, we can mask, and then we do at a different level of masking which information we can disclose or not. Yeah.
So were you able to set all that up before subscribing?
Yes, before we enable it, right? For any of the pages, we do set that up, masking as a part of our application code, and before even it comes out.
Yep, and we have a free trial on our website, so you can use all those features to try and set up the masking ahead of during the free trial. Awesome. Well, this is great. Really, really exciting to see see how you guys have been using LogRocket. So thanks, Vinay and Srini. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us on via intercom on the website or reach out via the contact us form. And we'll address any other questions that come in the next few minutes. We can just send direct messages to you all. So thanks so much, and have a great rest of the week, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us. Bye.
Right.